Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Walking Dead video. So here's my video breaking down, I guess the big storyline that they introduced here in episode 1 that is really going to have a big effect on the Walking Dead just in general. So yeah, I do want to talk about that, talk about how this could set up the Endgame story here, and yeah, get into all those details here. So before going any further, obviously I do have to warn you that this will contain spoilers for the episode. The episode has aired on cable now, so I assume most people have seen the episode now. But yeah, and definitely make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. I'll be doing some videos tomorrow focusing on Lucille 2.0 and also New Babylon and some of the other groups and all that, just breaking down everything that we learned about them and get into exactly what the groups are and all those details there, just because it's always fun to do, right? So yeah, and any news that does come out in terms of, interviews and all that today, I will do videos on tomorrow as well. The Last of Us, I'll be getting to my review of episode 4, so yeah, just stay tuned for that. A lot of stuff happening right now, but let's first get into this here. So Dead City just introduced something pretty ambitious in terms of the storyline here, and it really could mean some big things for the world of The Walking Dead, because The Walking Dead, ever since The Ones Who Live ended, needed some sort of I guess direction here as to how all the characters are going to reunite, because what's going to happen at some point here. It's just a matter of when, right? Like, is it going to happen next year, the year after, or in like 3, 4, 5 years from now? Like, we don't know when it's going to happen, but I imagine it is going to happen because everyone seems to be really excited about the idea, and it would just be crazy for Rick and Daryl's story to end in the way it did, right? So it's going to happen at some point. It's just, again, you have to set up the story for that. A lot of us thought the CRM story could be something like that, but it seems like since the ending there of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, they are setting up quite a bit of stuff here. We saw some setup there in The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon season 2 with Laurent and Ash going back to the Commonwealth, so there's a connection there for Rick finding out that Daryl is in France. Well, eventually he's going to be in Spain, so it's not going to really matter, but he'll know Daryl's not in America, right? So there's definitely some setup there in terms of reuniting all of the characters here. The New Babylon Federation is a really interesting group because in season 1, we learned a little bit about them. We knew that, they were a community of, I guess, law, right? Like, they really do honor that, and, they believe that it sort of should be the thing that everyone should live by. And so, they do take it to pretty big extremes, I would say, in this episode, in the season 2 premiere. But it's always been like that with the community, right? Even in season 1, we saw a little bit of that. Again, season 1 was really focused on Maggie and Negan, and not so much getting into the bigger storylines here, which we saw in the season 2 premiere. Like, they're actually starting to set a lot of that up right now. Their plan right now is to take over New York City, and like Maggie said, that's not necessarily their only plan. It's the methane that the Dama has because of, their ability to actually use walkers as a resource to create methane to power the entire city. So that is what they actually want because they're running out of resources themselves. And so they really, honestly, it's a pretty ambitious storyline. Like, they want to go over there, take over Manhattan, completely bring it back to life. And it would literally stand as a symbol to the rest of the world as to the power that they have and what they could actually do, and I guess give everyone hope. And again, this is really big. Like, this is CRM big, right? Like, that's what the CRM wanted to do, but the military was just sort of involved in a lot of things that kind of, got rid of a lot of that. And the groups are kind of different. But again, I think that is something that with New Babylon wanting this is a big storyline. It really is. And in terms of what's happening with the CRM right now, because I know that some people might be asking about that, we don't actually really know overall, but just based off of the ending of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, the military isn't as bad as what it was. They're more focused on helping people. And Denai Guerrera actually talked about, where a season 2 would go, or where you would see Rick and Michonne's next story, like what would be happening next. And the one thing that I found really interesting is that she said she could see Rick and Michonne focusing more on family life, but also, they'll have to split their time and go out there and help people as well and give people resources and whatnot. So they're very much going to be involved with the CRM and the military aspect to it, right? Like, it's not going to go away entirely. And so because Dead City Season 2 is set a couple of years later, I think that that's probably most likely what they've been doing for the last couple of years, right? And if another community or organization like the New Babylon Federation, which obviously we know, we heard in episode 1 of season 2 that they have a lot of communities. They just take over a lot of places and they just literally make them live by their rules, right? And so I think that at some point here, if New Babylon takes over New York City and it becomes, obviously a symbol to the rest of the world, the CRM are going to find out about that. And that's where I think Rick Grimes could actually get involved with this story here. And I think this is why, again, this is a really ambitious storyline. It's a pretty crazy storyline if you really think about it. If New Babylon wins and takes over New York City and has all of that power and is literally able to turn the city back on, I mean, obviously you could argue that's a good thing, right? But we saw how New Babylon treats communities, and I just don't know if that would be good overall. And I mean, we'd basically have another CRM in some sense. I mean, they're definitely different, I would say. And so stopping them, I think, would be smart. I think that's where Rick Grimes could get involved in all of this here. And it's not going to be this season, obviously, but in season 3, season 4, potentially. There's rumors right now, and I'll just recap these rumors just because I don't know if everyone who's watching this right now has been following The Walking Dead for the last however many months, because the show is back, so I imagine, there's going to be a lot more people watching, Walking Dead content and stuff right now. So in case you're not aware of some of the things that have been said and whatnot, Scott Gimple actually, a couple of months ago, mentioned that Rick Grimes' next story might not be in like The Ones Who Live season 2, but maybe in another show or like a new series. Like, I'm paraphrasing there, but it was basically like the fact that he wasn't really, talking a lot about season 2 of The Ones Who Live or a Rick movie and more referencing something like that. I think that, that's definitely, in terms of talking about that, that's so different from last year where Gimple was talking about, well, I hope to see Rick again, right? So now there's actual like, oh, we could see him in this way, this and that. And so now everyone's starting to think, well, how are you going to set a lot of this up right now? And I think you need a bigger storyline, right? And so I think the New Babylon Federation wanting to do this here is something that it's not going to be what the Endgame story is for sure. Like, you have to have so much more there. But I think this is building to that. Like, that's what you want to do right now, right? Like, you want to build to a bigger story here. And so it makes sense that this story is going to get like super big at some point because it's going to alert a lot of other communities around, right? And I think that's why Dead City is very important for the Endgame story and reuniting everyone, because I think that the New Babylon Federation is setting up that, specific story. And again, maybe that community is not, or not the community, but the organization's not around the end. Maybe there's a couple of people left. Maybe it's turned into something entirely different. But obviously, this story here set in Dead City is a pretty big deal here, right? And I mean, maybe this whole story ends in Dead City. Rick is still involved, though, and reunites with Maggie and Negan, but we don't get the Endgame story from this. That'll be something else when Daryl comes back, right? But maybe there's just something that, in terms of how the story ends here that sets that up. My point overall is that this is, again, I've seen a lot of that in early reviews saying that the storyline this season is very ambitious, and I'm just really curious as to where this is going to go overall this season, and again, what the Croat and the Dama have with using walkers to create methane as a resource for powering on cities and stuff. This is something that I think anyone would have wanted at any point in The Walking Dead, right? It's such a crazy thing to have that it makes sense that some other communities or organizations that are, obviously larger than what the Croat and the Dama have as a group, they're going to be like, oh, I want that, right? Because it's a power thing. And that's just sort of how it's always been, especially in The Walking Dead, right? So I think that is where things are likely going to be going here. I think my one question is how would Daryl ever get involved in a storyline like this? I think that's hard to say because of what's happening there for season 3 and 4. They're going to be in Spain, right? Daryl and Carol. So I think that a lot of that will be a different story, and there's going to be some connections to how he gets back to America and all of that, but I think that is something that's going to happen way later. And for this story here with the New Babylon Federation, I do think that this is more specific to Rick getting involved and reuniting with Maggie and Negan, because I also do think, and I've talked about this before, if you're going to reunite all the characters, I don't think you're going to reunite all of them all at once in one show, because every episode would be oh, this person's reuniting with this person and this person's reuniting with this person, right? In each episode of the season. So I think that some of the reunions are going to happen on some of the spinoffs here. I think Rick and Daryl, that's the biggest one out of all the characters. And so I think they're going to save that for the end. And this way we see Rick and Negan likely reunite, I think, on Dead City. And then that Endgame reunion story where Rick is actually back. And there's this whole other sort of show, I guess, that's worked out similar to The Ones Who Live. I think that's where Daryl shows up there. And that's going to be the big thing there for that show. But yeah, anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. It is a really exciting thought, starting to actually get into some of this here with the New Babylon Federation. Because I figured that getting into a story like this, it's going to set up a lot of, I guess, theories like that, because obviously this group is absolutely just insane in terms of what they want to do. And again, we'll have to see where this goes here, but I'm really curious as to how this is all going to play out. And like, that's the thing too, is like, maybe it's not even the New Babylon Federation. Like, if they just completely power on New York City and there's just a bunch of stuff happening, like, it depends on what the other groups are like, but it could be really bad. Like, I really do feel like there's no one like good group, I would say, on The Walking Dead Dead City. I kind of feel like the CRM would be the good group, right? Like, they're sort of the heroes in this whole thing, because the Croat and Dama, Bruegel, I don't trust at all. And the New Babylon Federation, I don't think you can really trust either. So yeah, we'll see where this goes here, but I just really feel like all sides are kind of villains in some sense. But anyways, post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.